Welcome to Blackwood Hunting Society, folks. As tomorrow we are going for a hunt in Denali National Preserve, I'd like to tell you boys a different story about one of our old rangers. But this time, this story not going to be only wilderness survival during hunting, but this is survival of him and how he helped others to survive in Denali National Park. This happened January 18th, 2003. This one stayed with me for years because nothing about it was dramatic at first. No monsters, no mystery. Just weather, bad luck, and a stretch of frozen country that doesn't care whether you're prepared or not. Small commuter aircraft carrying 14 people disappeared during a snowstorm north of the preserve boundary. Pilot tried cutting through a valley after visibility collapsed. Plane clipped trees and went down hard across a frozen drainage basin. Now most people think the crash is the dangerous part. Usually it isn't. The real danger starts after impact, when the cold settles in and people realize nobody's coming quickly. One passenger survived who mattered more than the others realized at the time. Old Ranger. Former military survival instructor before working years as a fire lookout and winter tracker up north. Quiet man. Didn't panic, didn't waste movement, didn't yell. He came out of the crash with cracked ribs and a shoulder injury, but he stayed functional. That matters in winter survival. You don't need perfect health. You need clear thinking. Pilot died instantly. Co-pilot too. Radio shattered during impact. One passenger had a compound fracture in the leg. Another had facial burns from a fuel flash when the aircraft skidded, and fuel smell was everywhere. The Ranger knew leaking fuel in freezing temperatures creates another problem people don't think about. Vapors stay low around wreckage. One spark in the wrong place and the whole aircraft turns into a furnace. So he forced everyone 50 yards away before darkness settled in. That probably saved lives, because 20 minutes later, part of the left engine ignited. Flames climbed through the wing fast, lit the entire valley orange for maybe 2 minutes before snow and wind choked it out. And then came the silence after the fire died. That's the moment panic hit the survivors. See, fire gives people false hope in cold weather. Once those flames disappeared, everybody realized they were sitting in open wilderness at 20 below with no communication. The Ranger immediately organized jobs. That's something civilians struggle with during disasters. They stand around thinking somebody else has a plan. He assigned movement, snow gathering, medical checks, insulation stripping from the aircraft walls. Kept people busy. One man refused to help, sat in the snow staring at the wreckage, mumbling about rescue helicopters. Shock. The Ranger slapped him across the face once and shoved gloves back into his hands. Not cruelty. Survival. They built a windbreak using torn aluminum panels and luggage. Used seat cushions beneath injured passengers to stop heat draining into the snow. Most people don't understand that frozen ground steals body heat faster than open air. Around midnight, the weather worsened into full whiteout conditions. Couldn't see beyond 20 feet, snow blowing sideways, wind cutting through layers, and then wolves showed up. Not attacking. Not yet, but they were out there. The crash and burning fuel probably drew them in from miles away. You boys ever hear wolves circling in deep snow at night, and you'll understand how small people really are. One survivor kept shining a flashlight toward the trees every few minutes. Ranger finally took the batteries away from him. Smart decision. Cold drains batteries fast. Flashlights become useless if idiots waste power scaring themselves. By morning, the fire they'd built from aircraft debris started failing. Wet snow soaked the outer wood layers. Wind kept stripping heat away. That's another thing inexperienced people don't understand. Keeping a fire alive during heavy snowstorm burns calories, fuel, and manpower. The ranger checked supplies, not good, half-frozen protein bars, small emergency med kit, 1 flare gun, 2 weak radios, minimal water, and 1 radio battery already dying. He knew staying near the wreck meant burial once the next storm front arrived, snow already climbing halfway up the fuselage, so he made the decision to move south toward an abandoned ranger shelter he remembered from old Fire Watch maps. Hard call. Some people wanted to stay and wait for rescue. That's what civilians usually think is safest, but mountains don't care about hope. He tied survivors together with cut seatbelt straps before starting the march. Whiteouts separate groups fast, especially tired people. You lose visual contact in snow, you lose people. Travel conditions got ugly quick. Snow waist deep, frozen creek beds hidden beneath drift layers, visibility collapsing every few minutes. One passenger removed his gloves because his fingers felt warm. That's severe frostbite setting in. Ranger forced the gloves back on and wrapped chemical warmers against the wrists to preserve circulation. About 3 hours into the hike, they heard cracking somewhere uphill. Avalanche movement. Now experienced winter trackers know mountain snow talks before it slides. Deep hollow cracking means slab separation. The ranger changed direction immediately and pushed everyone into low timber cover. 30 seconds later, part of the slope collapsed. Snow crossed the valley like floodwater, not full burial range where they stood, but enough to knock 2 passengers off their feet. That rattled the group bad. Later that afternoon, they reached a frozen river crossing, and this is where survival starts becoming ugly. River ice looked solid from above. Problem was flowing water underneath weakens pressure points near bends. The ranger tested the crossing with a broken branch and heard hollow echo beneath one section. So, he spread the survivors apart before crossing. Good thing, too. Middle section collapsed under 1 passenger. Water hit him chest deep. Now, boys. Freezing river water shuts muscles down frighteningly fast. The ranger dragged him out using seatbelt rope while laying flat across the ice to spread his own weight. Nearly went through himself. Then came the hard decision. Wet clothes had to come off immediately or the man dies within an hour. People panic when stripped in freezing weather. They think clothing equals warmth, not if it's soaked. The ranger wrapped him in insulation batting and forced movement every few minutes to keep circulation going. Outside, the storm softened briefly. That night they found an old trapping cabin nearly buried under drift snow, roof damaged, stovepipe still intact though. That saved them. They got heat going using broken furniture and scrap wood. Melted snow in metal tins for water. Then another problem started. Food. Starving people become selfish fast. One survivor accused another of hiding food rations. Fight nearly broke out inside the cabin. Ranger stopped it quick. Split remaining calories equally. Nobody eats extra. Nobody hoards. But during the night, one survivor quietly left the cabin. No note, no flashlight, just gone. They found tracks leading north back toward the crash site. Probably panic mixed with confusion happens during cold exposure. People stop thinking logically. The ranger wanted to search immediately, couldn't. Blizzard conditions would have killed more people. So he waited until daylight. They found the missing survivor the next morning less than a mile away, sitting against a spruce tree. Still alive, barely conscious, hands badly frozen. Man kept insisting he saw rescue lights through the storm during the night. There weren't any rescue lights. By then, the ranger knew how serious things really were. Radio battery almost dead, food nearly gone, injured passengers slowing movement. Another storm moving in. But he never let the others see that panic. That's what experienced leaders do. They carry fear privately. He kept teaching people small survival habits while they moved. Keep snow out of boots. Don't sweat through inner layers. Check each other's faces for frostbite. Keep fingers moving. Never sit directly on frozen ground. Simple things keep people alive. They reached the abandoned ranger shelter late the next afternoon. Half collapsed, but strong enough to block wind. And that's where rescue crews finally found them after weather cleared. Only 5 survivors walked out under their own strength. The ranger survived another 10 years after that. Never talked much about the crash afterward, according to people who knew him. But every winter he repeated the same thing to new backcountry volunteers. The wilderness usually doesn't kill people with one big mistake. It kills them with 20 small ones. So tomorrow when we head into Denali Preserve, you boys stay close, stay dry, and don't let panic make decisions for you. Because cold weather doesn't care how confident you are.